and that he deserved it, Joe.
I was wrong. It's my fault. It's my fault, Emily.
So I just watched The Guilty and thought it was pretty good.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
A pretty good, solid, intense thriller. And that was exactly what I was expecting to go into. And my expectations were moderately met and some were subverted. But for the most part, I really enjoyed the film. It had a great performance by Jake Gyllenhaal. He's proving to himself that he is one of the great actors out there right now. He takes on a role like this where he's in every scene and every moment, and we're following him. And overall, it was a very enjoyable experience and got really intense in places I wasn't expecting per se. But overall, really great thriller, really great performance. Definitely a performance piece. The filmmaking is pretty good, but I would say mostly this is a performance piece by Jake Gyllenhaal, and he excels in a way that only he can. So to get into the nitty-gritty of it, Jake Gyllenhaal plays a demoted police officer who's kind of chained to a desk as a 911 call dispatcher. And when he receives a emergency phone call from a kidnapped woman, he kind of gets himself personally involved in the case, even kind of going above and beyond, trying to figure out how to help this woman and her children and get to the bottom of what is really going on. It really deals with the California fires as well as the backdrop of the story, which I found very interesting. But really, we're kind of set in place. We're really kind of forced into this isolated setting of a 911 dispatch caller, which I find very interesting. This really reminded me of a Scorsese film back in the 90s called Bringing Out the Dead with Nicolas Cage, or he played an ambulance driver, though this one is a little bit more isolated and more confined to the desk and to the call center, and we hear the audio from people that he's interacting with who he is trying to help, especially this woman who finds herself in a very bad situation into a presumed kidnapping. But the film does take a lot of different kind of twists and kind of subvert your expectations and your biases in terms of characters that you would usually want to root for in a traditional mystery kind of thriller or action thriller. It really kind of tests your biases in a way to where when the other shoe drops, you're completely shell-shocked in the best way I found with this film. As far as filmmaking is always close on Gyllenhaal, it does a really great job at showing the intensity of what he's going through. There's a presumed controversial case that he is kind of involved in that we don't really get the exact context of until later in the film that he's dealing with. He's dealing with a loss, separated from his wife and child, and so he's really trying to hold it together. He's really trying to get back on the street. But he's kind of chained to this position as a 911 dispatcher, which I find a very interesting occupation. I really feel like I haven't really seen a film that deals with the 911 dispatchers and the personal involvement and the intensity that comes with it and the anxiety, and I really feel The Guilty really handled this all very well. Antoine Fuqua did a really great job, best known for his directing in Training Day, which is a really intense film, and he definitely brings the intensity in with The Guilty. It was written by Nick Pizzolatto, who is most familiar with True Detective, the creator and writer of True Detective. Definitely recommend the first season of that. So it's a really unique combination with Nick Pizzolatto and Antoine Fuqua. Names I desperately try to pronounce, but they did a really great job in their collaboration as writer and director, and they really just nail what I presume what it's like to be a 911 dispatch caller. As I said, Jake Gyllenhaal really just brings an intense performance. He goes all over the place emotionally. There's anger and sadness and insanity as he's trying to help this young woman and her children against this kidnapping, and he definitely he kind of rides the legal lines a little bit in a lot of different ways. I found very, very intense, and then when the other shoe kind of drops, the rug is kind of pulled from under us. There are revelations lessons that I really didn't expect with this type of film, but it was delivered in a very unique way. Everything is done through the dispatch line. We see audio, we see kind of pictures in his head of what he imagines what's going on out there. It doesn't really take away from the isolated intensity of the film, which I really appreciated. It's not too overindulgent and kind of what he's imagining is happening. You know, it kind of dissolves in and out. But really, what I was hoping for this film is a kind of an isolated piece of a 911 dispatch caller, and that's exactly what I got, and I was very, very thankful for that. And this being on Netflix just proves that they're willing to kind of take on different types of material that's more kind of niche, I would say. Not that this is the most like groundbreaking film of the year or anything. I really feel like this type of story is pretty niche. It's definitely not for the tame of hearts, or maybe even not for general audiences. But if I had to point out a few criticisms, the film doesn't make things as ambiguous as I would like there to be. The whole kind of case, a legal action that's against Gyllenhaal's character, that's kind of the background to why he's a 911 dispatch caller, isn't really left to the imagination. It is kind of revealed near the end, but it's really executed in I found a very unique way that really brought emotion and depth to the character as he reveals to the young woman he's trying to help. Not going to spoil that for this video, but I will say that it was delivered in a very unique way that's not so exposition-y, that was very welcomed, though it kind of took away from the ambiguity, but I can't really fault the film that much for it. There is a line towards the end that kind of spells out the theme of the film for the audience that wasn't really needed. They could have just held a silent moment and kind of left it at that. It's a very obvious line, and when you see the film, you kind of know what I'm pointing at here. That it just was super obvious that the film was just trying to spell itself out for the audience, which is unfortunate, though. This is on Netflix, so they're definitely dealing with a more general audience than a kind of niche, intense, independent mystery kind of thriller. But it didn't really ruin the whole experience for me, though. I really wish it would have been more perfect if they just left it out. I definitely would have given the film more credit if it had left out this one line. And not to say that it ruined the experience, but to me, I really feel like things are better left unsaid and just kind of let the audience have their own experience with it, if that makes sense. But ultimately, I feel like it wasn't really needed, but that's just me. All in all, The Guilty is a really interesting thriller. It's very solid. It does exactly what you kind of expect to do, and also brings in things that you wouldn't expect in this type of thriller. It does kind of end in a very, I don't want to say predictable way, but in a very kind of traditional way. It doesn't go as dark as the material sets up, which would be another little criticism for me, because I really like dark material and like how these everyday kind of crimes and murders and deaths kind of go down, especially involving children. I really feel that there's opportunity to kind of stick to that, but the film, I don't want to say chickens out, but at the same time, it kind of plays it a little bit safe in the end, just a little bit. It's definitely detracting it for following through on the dark material that it sets up, is basically what I'm trying to say with this. But I would rate The Guilty 3.5 stars. I think it's really solid. It's on Netflix. It's really a great watch. It's only an hour and a half, so the runtime is really great. I thought the film was ending halfway through, but it kept going. It definitely held my attention throughout, which for a standard Netflix film is really difficult to do. If you've seen the kind of stuff that they put out, this is definitely more my kind of film. Even though it doesn't directly stick to landing at times, I so appreciated what it set up and the kind of world that's portrayed in the film, especially from the point of view of a 911 dispatcher, which is a very interesting premise. And just to have the whole film take place from the dispatcher's point of view, only hearing audio of what's going on from the outside, was a very interesting concept that I really appreciated. But that's going to be it for my thoughts on The Guilty. I would highly recommend you check it out. It is on Netflix, so you have no excuses not to see it. Please like and subscribe if you'd be so kind. My name is George Ray. I want to thank you for checking out this video. Please remember to stay calm, keep cool, keep chill, and embrace great cinema. I'll see you on the next video. Until next time, peace out.